Hey, how's it going? Hunting Principles here from Southern Missouri. Aaron Miller coming back to you for my third episode of what it is that I'm doing on my food plot here in Southern Missouri. And the last two episodes looked at why I started where I did, and then my first attempt, which was a failure in many ways. So tonight's episode, what I want to talk about is what I did after that, and how I moved forward with where I'm at now and some of the pictures you've been seeing on my channel and on my Facebook page. And to give us kind of an idea of after falling short and basically failing at that first plot, what it is that I needed to do to get better at what I did. So instead of going the opposite route and putting a bunch of money into the plot, I still had to think about a budget. And for you guys out there watching right now that maybe fall into the same category I do, it's not that I don't have a decent job, it's just that there's priorities that I have in what it is that I need to do. And so whether you fall into the category of a young person who doesn't have a lot of money but wants to start creating a food source and a hunting area on maybe your family farm or your property, whether you're a middle-aged person like myself who is working a normal job and just maybe doesn't have a lot of expendable cash, my next thought in this process was, how do I do this on a budget? How do I keep this within reason? I didn't have a lot of extra cash to throw out at hundreds and hundreds of pounds of lime and hundreds and hundred pounds of fertilizer, high dollar seed, equipment. And so what was my next step? My next step was to try to do it better. And I know that sounds real simple and cliche, but after not getting any growth, after checking it for a month and a half and trying to see what was going to come up, a little bit of ryegrass came in and basically kind of was a complete failure. There was really no deer in that area other than a random one on a camera occasionally. And my next step was, okay, what are some of the guys that do this for a living do when starting a new plot? I had cleared the ground. I had used glyphosate, killed all the vegetation, cleared the leaves, made good soil contact. What did I do wrong? Well, one of the first things that I looked at in doing this next attempt was do a soil test. I know that sounds simple, and at the time I kind of skipped that step because the only options I had was to send it off somewhere short notice. I didn't really have that option. That cost money, and didn't really have the opportunities to check around and see if there was anybody local doing it. So the other option I had was the cheap garden test that you buy from Tractor Supply or Walmart. And so I did a quick pH test and found that my pH was a little bit low, and not drastically low, but according to the cheap test, it was below a 6. And I went ahead and tried to buy about 120 to 140 pounds of pelletized lime. I think I put about 4 bags of lime on this plot, and it's about 1/4 of an acre. And so I didn't have exact numbers, I didn't have exact soil results, but I did know that pH was low. So after putting on about 120, 140 pounds of lime, I was able to go in, put a couple 50-pound bags of fertilizer on by hand, and tried to make an attempt at preparing the soil a little bit better than what I had done before. And trying to provide the soil with something to really improve where it was at, considering it was a very rocky soil. In fact, some of it was the hard packed driving ground that the logging road was used the majority of the time. So there was a couple of spots that were extremely hard packed and rocky and gravel. So I knew I wasn't going to get a lot of growth there anyway. So what could I do to improve that? The only other thing that I did was I did ask a friend of mine to come in. He did have a tractor and a disc, and we did get a good portion of the plot disced up. Not completely, but probably 3 to 4 inches of soil kind of broken up a little bit in some of the main areas of the plot. but the ground in the smaller areas, the truck trails through the woods that I was hoping to use as kind of feeders into the main plot, we couldn't get the tractor down. So again, I was still back to hand tools, clipping limbs with hand clippers and chainsaw, and was hoping for better results. So after this initial failure, I came in, soil tested with a cheap soil test, got some general ideas of what kind of amendments I needed to make to the soil, did those within a conservative reason. Didn't probably put near as much as I should have, but enough that I knew was going to make a difference over time. The next thing I did was try to break the ground up a little bit and prepare it a little better than I did the first time. And then the next thing I did was, instead of buying just a small, cheap food plot bag, I tried a little different approach. In going to a local seed company here, Richard Brothers Seeds in Mountain Grove area, I was able to pick up a few different types of clover by the pound, and was able to put together a small mix of my own of Ladina, white clover, and crimson clover that first year. And also was able to buy a brand, I don't remember the brand right off the top of my head, but it's a brand that they carry of radish mix. And so I mixed these together, and I went out and hand spread these in the fall, and was not real impressed with the radish results. The ground was still, I think, fairly hard, so I didn't get a lot of growth out of the radishes, but the clover did start to come in, so I was pretty excited about that. At the end of near the September mark, middle of September, I actually went in and threw out some buck forage oats. That, I think, is what really helped my plot going into the spring, because in the spring the forage oats came back pretty strong, and the deer began hitting that plot, but the clover was able to grow. And so I was able to go in, I was able to basically tear that down to begin where my next episode will take us, and that is where we're at now. But even with the buck forage oats and the clover growing that first year, last year, by the time bow season really came around, the deer had pretty well wiped it out. The buck forage oats had not come in tall enough to make a difference yet, and the clover had gotten chewed down pretty close to the ground. So again, not a perfect result that I was looking for, but definitely a better start than where I had been. So what I'm really hoping to see out of these first couple years was more results. And even though I had been making some mistakes on when to plant, had went out and planted the winter wheat and the oats prior to a storm, that never happened. And so it just really didn't come in as thick as I wanted by the fall. And surprisingly, the next year, this spring, I had quite a bit of stand of winter wheat and some oats left over that really began to take off and allow my clover to establish. So I'm hoping that I can share with you next week on my episode that will kind of wrap up where I'm at right now and what my future plans are. And then hopefully in the next month to 2 months, I will be able to post a 5th episode of what I am doing this fall with the plot. I've also got a couple of videos here at the end of this session that I'm hoping to share with you some of the things happening in the plot, that deer going through the mineral licks and the things that I have been doing this summer. I hope that you'll stay tuned to the channel and follow up with some of the next couple episodes as I talk about where we're going with this plot, as well as the new plot that I'm looking at to hopefully get started in the next couple weeks. So get out, enjoy the bows, get practiced up, and get smooth with all the skills that you guys are needing. At some point, I'd like to share with you guys a little bit of what I've been doing this year in preparing for bow season in that aspect. So stay tuned for some of those things as well. But get out, enjoy the weather while you can. I know it's hot, I know it's sticky, at least it is here in southern Missouri. But it's a great opportunity to get out when you have those chances. Stay tuned, hit subscribe, hit like, follow Instagram if you do. The Hunting Principles is on there as well. So follow along as I, a newbie to Instagram, am going to try that out. So follow me there. The link will be ran here at the end of the video, so you'll be able to see how to get to that. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Hope you guys are getting ready for a good bow season. Stay tuned. Have fun. Get outside, shoot those bows.